Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Before the Kickoff podcast. I am your host, James Christopher. I'm joined here by my co-host, Chase Oliver. What is going on, Chase?
Franchise tags, off-season coming up next week. I cannot wait, James. I cannot wait.
Yeah, that is right. Free agency period starting up on March 12th. We'll get to that at the later end of the show, but now we want to talk about Joe Flacco's contract. Joe Flacco agreed to a 6-year, $120.6 million contract on Friday. He signed it on Monday. Chase, everybody has an opinion on this. What is your opinion on this?
All right, first of all, guys, Joe Flacco is only guaranteed $52 million of this contract. And the thing is, a lot of people were complaining, saying that Joe Flacco does not deserve this contract. Joe Flacco does not deserve this contract because he plays poor in the regular season. But what they forget to see, what I see and what you see, what we always talk about here on the Before the Kickoff podcast on playoff time, we talk about Joe Flacco is one of the best playoff quarterbacks in the National Football League. And in all his years of being an NFL starting quarterback, ever since being drafted, Joe Flacco has led his team to the playoffs, and he has been in 3 AFC title games, and he won the Super Bowl. And guess who was drafted the same year as Joe Flacco? Matty Ice, Matt Ryan. Yes, Matt Ryan, great regular season quarterback, but the guy only got his first playoff win this year. To me personally, they're paying Joe Flacco for doing a great job in the playoffs. And I understand that. I mean, look at this. Peyton Manning, he has the greatest regular seasons of all time. But how many Super Bowls does this man have? How many rings does Peyton Manning have? Only one. He has 3 MVPs, but only 1 Super Bowl ring. Tell me, Joe Flacco, he is deserving of that $52 million guaranteed. Now, $120 million all around a little bit too high, but the $52 million guaranteed, I understand that. $52 million guaranteed is understandable. It's better than Michael Vick getting $40 million guaranteed. Michael Vick was getting $40 million guaranteed when he didn't really even do that much. Joe Flacco has shown he is your guy. Joe Flacco has shown he can win in the playoffs. And to me, it's ridiculous that people keep going back to his regular season, saying he's not a great regular season quarterback. Okay, he's not a great regular season quarterback. Matt Ryan is, but who has more rings? Matt Ryan or Joe Flacco? They were drafted the same year. Who has more playoff wins? Joe Flacco or Matt Ryan? Joe Flacco does. To me personally, I'm not saying Joe Flacco is an overall better quarterback than Matt Ryan, but what I'm saying is that he does deserve this money, especially for a rookie quarterback for 5 years, to lead your team to the playoffs every single year you're there. And not only that, show that you are the franchise quarterback after winning a Super Bowl in your 5th year. It shows to me personally that I'm building my team around you. We can't let you go no matter what. Because if you go off somewhere else, we're going to kick ourselves in the foot. We're going to kick ourselves in the ass and saying, why did we let this guy go? So, and really, to be honest here, I feel that Joe Flacco, he's rightfully paid. He may be a little bit overpaid. But hey, Calvin Johnson, he makes a bunch of money for the Detroit Lions. And yes, one of the best receivers in the game today. But what's the Lions' record? Let me just put that to example. Regular season to me it does matter for seeding purposes. But to me personally, great quarterbacks are made in the playoffs. Great quarterbacks are made after winning Super Bowl rings. And to me, Joe Flacco, he's on his way to becoming a great quarterback. If he has a great regular season, people are just going to compliment him more. But in all honesty, Joe Flacco is deserving of this contract.
People are just hypocrites. People love, and this is the thing. People love to bash LeBron James when he is unable to get it done in the postseason. Now, you look at Joe Flacco, and I understand it's a different sport. Now, I'm not saying that it's the same sport or anything. But you look at Joe Flacco, and he does exactly that. He delivers in the postseason year after year. Last year, leading his team to the AFC Championship, where honestly, if Lee Evans holds on to the pass, they are on to the Super Bowl. And I give them a pretty good chance against the New York Giants, by the way, who only seem to really have success against the Packers and the Patriots. So I I love this. I'm sorry, I can't get enough of this because this man, every single year he brings you to the playoffs, and this year he won the Super Bowl for you, and it was because of him. When you throw 11 touchdowns in the postseason, you are leading your team to the playoffs. Okay? Now, people like to bring up Trent Dilfer and then bring up comparisons. How dare you? Alright? How dare you bring up Trent Dilfer to the same capability as Joe Flacco? First of all, since a lot of you are statisticians, bring up Trent Dilfer's postseason stats and tell me if they compare to Joe Flacco's postseason stats. I'm pretty sure that Trent Dilfer did not throw 11 touchdowns to 0 interceptions the way Joe Flacco is. So if you compare those two, you are... I don't want to say anything that's going to get me in trouble, but there's something wrong with you, and you need to rethink about the argument that you're making. There is a huge difference between Trent Dilfer and Joe Flacco. Another thing, you hit on it. Okay, there's only $52 million guaranteed. Michael Vick is getting paid for having one good regular season, and that is it. For having one good 2010 regular season, he is getting paid millions, and he isn't doing anything. He isn't doing anything currently. He's still getting paid $10 million a year. So if you want to look at a bad contract, look at that contract. I think people are blowing this completely out of proportion. And another thing is, there's about $29 million in signing bonus, and it's only going to cost them about $7 million against the cap for 2013. So stop saying, oh, they're buying Paul Kruger. Yeah, it's only going to cost $7 million against the cap. It also came at a bad timing. We were talking about the Tom Brady extension from last week. It came at a bad timing because people are falsely saying that, oh, look at Tom Brady. Why can't Joe Flacco do that? Tom Brady is married to a woman that makes $40 million a year. Joe Flacco is not married to that woman. So Tom Brady doesn't need to make money in the NFL because he has money and that something next to him that I don't want to say because I'll get in trouble. I'm heated about this. The fact of the matter is, Joe Flacco, he won at a good time. Now, could he have asked for less money? Yeah, sure. I mean, maybe he could have asked for less money, but it's not going to hurt the Ravens as much as people are saying. That's just, no, it won't. And Trent Dilfer, that's just, wow. That's a ludicrous comparison for me. It's a travesty of a comparison. Chase, do you have any more to add?
I do, because the Trent Dilfer situation, I always say this. Trent Dilfer was aging, and also compared to two defenses of those Ravens teams. You cannot tell me with a straight-ass face that the 2000 Ravens were worse than this year's Ravens defense. You cannot tell me that. The 2000 Ravens were a great defense. This Ravens defense was mediocre. And the fact that it was all Joe Flacco that won those games for the Ravens. Yes, the Ravens defense played key parts. I'm not denying that. But it was Joe Flacco who was the main reason. And to me, people forget about this. Joe Flacco, he's not the most marketable guy. He's boring. RG3 probably, with his advertising, was probably making more than 10 quarterbacks that are established in the NFL. And I'm being dead serious when I'm saying that. He probably was making more money. You know, Tom Brady, you talked about Giselle. Let's not also forget the Dodge Dart commercials he's always on. Everything else that he does, you know, I'm pretty sure he's racking in money on endorsements. Peyton Manning can take a contract cut because he's on every freaking commercial on my damn TV. And Aaron Rodgers, you know, this is just good for Aaron Rodgers. If anything, people who are complaining Aaron Rodgers is underpaid, which he is, this is going to make Aaron Rodgers say, hey, you know, Green Bay, I am the best quarterback in the league, which he is. And Aaron Rodgers may ask for more money. And then you're going to have guys, maybe Matt Ryan down the line, because I feel the Falcons are a team that will make a Super Bowl and win it. You know, maybe he'll start, you know, he's coming up there where they might say, hey, you know, I want more money. I want that Joe Flacco money. You know, there's a bunch of, you know, understanding where money, it's important to these athletes too. We don't know what goes on in these athletes' lives. And, you know, yes, it seems like a huge amount of money, but a lot of people would say, you know, I'd be very, very good with that money, but not a lot of people are smart. And that's why Joe Flacco, he's a smart man. Don't forget he has to pay his agent. Don't forget he has to pay all that fucking giant house he probably lives in Baltimore. You know, he has a lot to pay off of. So it's not like $58 million he's going to keep or that $120 million he's going to keep. But Joe Flacco is on his way to a great career as the Ravens. And that's all I got to say.
All right, now we will get more on this Joe Flacco situation when we have our new high 5-minute segment coming up later in the show. But Chase, it's time for your College Minute of the Week.
All right, guys. All you know is the Combine has happened. Teams are looking at players, but the one position that is being looked at the most is the offensive tackle position. Yes, that is right. Luke Jokel may not be the number one pick after all. Eric Fisher out of Central Michigan has been opening up a lot of eyes lately. A lot of people are looking at Eric Fisher and Luke Jokel, and one of those two could actually be the number one pick in this NFL draft. So Luke Jokel, for all those teams that were hoping he would fall to them, there is still a good chance Luke Jokel can. Eric Fisher from Central Michigan is a great offensive tackle, and not to mention he has that small school feel to him, so you knew he was probably the best player on that team. So you know he knows what it's like to be a leader for a team. So that's why maybe Eric Fisher might get a slight hand over a Luke Jokel. And also in other news, Geno Smith and Matt Barkley. It seems that gets down to those two in the quarterback race. And it seems like Matt Barkley could catch up to Geno Smith and become the first quarterback taken overall. And that's my College Minute of the Week.
All right, well, now it's time for us to have our guest. Please welcome Lou. His link to his YouTube channel will be down in the description box, so make sure to check out that. What's going on, Lou?
I'm doing great, man. What's going on with you, James?
Not much going on. We wanted to get you on the show. We like to have a guest every week, so thank you for being here. Now, the biggest thing that we want to get into is Joe Flacco's contract. 6 years, $120.6 million. Everybody has an opinion on this, so we want to know, what is your opinion on this?
I mean, it's a lot of money for a quarterback that I feel like the Ravens could have had for a lot less had they got this deal done before the offseason last season. But Flacco said it himself. He felt like he was worth more money, and he proved it in this season. I've always been a Joe Flacco believer. I've felt like he was a good quarterback. He's a guy that gets it done at the end of games. I trust Joe Flacco, and so he showed what he could do this season, and the Ravens had to put up now $120 million. It's a lot of money. People always make the mistake of seeing a deal for what it's worth on the outside, but not actually taking the time to pick apart a deal. It's a 6-year, $120 million deal, but essentially what it is a 3-year deal that's right around $62 million. So he's guaranteed about $51 million in the first 2 seasons, and then after the 3rd year, it's $62 million that he'll be paid in total. That 4th year is when that contract balloons to $29 million, and that's when the Ravens will step in and they'll restructure that deal, or they'll re-sign him to an extension. And so that deal won't really be $120 million for 6 years, but it looks nice on paper. Much like the Albert Haynesworth deal in Washington, when he signed it, everybody was going crazy. Oh, $100 million. It was not a $100 million contract. It was about 3 years for about $48 million. And that's the same thing here with Joe Flacco. But to me, he's worth a lot of this money. I don't know if he's a $20 million a year guy. I mean, we're talking Peyton Manning, Tom Brady type money, Drew Brees type money. I don't know if Joe Flacco is quite in that class, but to me, he's a step right under. And so he's being paid very handsomely. But look, what this deal has done is it set a lot of teams back. The Packers, when Aaron Rodgers' deal is up, they're going to have to pony up the money to Aaron Rodgers. If teams like the Redskins, like the 49ers, like the Seahawks, if they were to win a Super Bowl title before one of these young quarterbacks' deal is up, just think of the money that they're going to command from these teams if they are to get a Super Bowl under their belt. This deal has sent shockwaves through the NFL. But again, Joe Flacco earned his money, and more power to him.
Last week, Alex Smith was traded to the Kansas City Chiefs. Do you like this decision by the Chiefs, or do you feel that they should have maybe went to the draft and get a quarterback there?
Man, I actually like the decision to go with Alex Smith, because this team need someone that's going to come in and take care of the football. Their biggest issue in the 2012 season was they didn't take care of the football. They turned it over way too much. And so Alex Smith, the one thing you can count on with Alex Smith, he's going to be a caretaker of the football. He takes care of the football. He's not going to turn it over. High completion percentage. He's not going to push the football down the field as much as you would like, but he's a guy that's going to be very accurate in the short passing game, which is what Andy Reid likes to do in the West Coast offense. So it's going to be a very good fit for the Chiefs. And plus, this draft is very weak at the quarterback position. This isn't a draft that's oozing with talent like it was last season. And so you have to be careful. With that first overall pick, you can't mortgage your future on one of these quarterbacks. You just can't do it. And so going the Alex Smith route, I think, is the smarter decision for the Chiefs. And I think they'll benefit from it because they need someone that will come in and manage this game, manage this offense. If they had someone that took care of the ball last year, they would have won way more than 2 games. So I think if Jamal Charles can continue to run the football like he was able to do in the 2012 season, they got Dwayne Bowe back. They got Brendan Albert back, their left tackle. They're sitting pretty right now. I love what the Chiefs have done in this offseason. I really think that they've had the best offseason thus far. And now that number 1 overall pick is anything they want it to be. They took care of the quarterback situation. They took care of the left tackle's position. It looked like Luke Joeckel was going to be their choice for a while. They don't need Luke Joeckel now. If they want, they can still do it. It's a luxury now. The Chiefs are sitting pretty right now, and that Alex Smith trade is a big part of the reason why.
Speaking about the Chiefs, they decided to retain Dwayne Bowe. They signed him to a 5-year deal. What did you make of this deal?
I think that it was a great deal for the Chiefs. Dwayne Bowe is a guy that is a bona fide number 1 in the league. And anytime you have a number 1 receiver, you want to hold on to him. You can't let number 1 receivers walk away. If you look around the league right now, there are a lot of teams dying to get their hands on a number 1 receiver, a true number 1 threat that you can put out wide and he can go up and make a play for you. A lot of teams don't have that right now, are void of a number 1. The Chiefs realized that they had one in Dwayne Bowe and they need to make sure that they keep him. And so they franchised him last year because they didn't want to allow him to walk away. And now he's got the long-term deal that he was seeking. And I think it's a great move. That deal that Bowe received did 2 things for the Chiefs. They got their man back in Dwayne Bowe, and it also allowed them to free up the franchise tag to slap it on Brendan Albert. So they killed 2 birds with 1 stone. Again, I feel like the Chiefs are having an amazing offseason.
All right. Well, thank you for stopping by. Hopefully we can have you again soon, but really thank you for stopping by.
Hey, thanks a lot, man. Anytime.
All right. All right. Well, now that we've really gone into the Joe Flacco situation, we really want to look at free agency. And as I just asked our guest, now that he's out of here, what the biggest free agent was to him this year. Chase, to you, who is the biggest free agent out on the market?
Ooh, that's a hard question for me to answer, but I would have to probably say Mike Wallace is definitely up there with the Greg Jennings as possibly the biggest free agents up here, because Mike Wallace and Greg Jennings, both great wide receivers. I would probably take a Jennings, even though he has injury problems in the past, over a Mike Wallace. But Greg Jennings, to me, is just a dynamic wide receiver. He's someone that can play very, very well. I feel a lot of teams are going to be going after him because he's going to be a very big number 1 option. And I feel that number 1 option that Greg Jennings brings and helps a lot of people out. Like Buffalo Bills, I feel they would benefit a lot if they got a Greg Jennings, especially since the Bills are probably going to be drafting a quarterback anyways in this draft. You could probably get a Greg Jennings, help out Stevie Johnson. You know, they just released a couple of their, wide receivers in Jones and another wide receiver that wasn't obviously doing anything for them. So why not get a Greg Jennings? Now, Mike Wallace is another good option, very fast. But I would probably have to say Greg Jennings is probably the best free agent available this upcoming offseason. I honestly think that, him and Wallace are going to battle it out. I didn't think Dwayne Bowe was the best option whatsoever. I think the Chiefs were dumb for re-signing Dwayne Bowe today, in all honesty. But That's about it.
Well, to me, I think you hit on it. Mike Wallace is pretty much the biggest free agent here. I mean, Sebastian Vollmer, he'll come in and he'll play a great left tackle for a team that needs him. I really don't understand why the Patriots aren't keeping him. He's the one that's been protecting Tom Brady for all this while, because as soon as Tom Brady starts getting hit, the Patriots start losing games. But again, you look at Greg Jennings also. I look at a guy like Wes Welker that could really come in, and he could fit in pretty much in a lot of offenses. He's very versatile, which could work in a lot of offensive in the league. Especially, I look at him at Minnesota. I could see Christian Ponder gelling with him well, not having to do deep routes with him. He's doing intermediate to short routes, and that could really work with Wes Welker. I even look at a guy, Andy Levitri, offensive guard. He can really come in, hopefully for my team, but he can really come in and fix up the interior of offensive line. He's a real big reason why C.J. Spiller was getting all those big holes this season. Make no doubt about that. I'm always looking at the offensive linemen. As Mike Mayock says, I mean, he's obsessed with these butts that offensive lineman has. He's like, but Andy Levitri has a big butt, okay? This big butt is getting in the way, creating havoc, getting in people's defensive linemen's way, and creating room for his running backs to run. Now, who do you think is an underrated free agent?
Ooh, underrated free agents. I would have to probably go with maybe an Ahmad Bradshaw, another guy that from the quarterbacks actually, Matt Moore. I think Matt Moore is a pretty underrated free agent, and that a team that signed him like a Jacksonville or something could very use him serviceably. Well, I feel that Matt Moore's back. I'd probably say Paul Kruger is underrated when it comes down to it. Maybe an Anthony Spencer, but other than that, really, there's not a lot of huge, underrated defensive players in this. I mean, a lot of guys that are in this free agency, like Brandon Bosch, Dwight Freeney, Josh Abraham, they're all old. Sean Phillips, old. Sheldon Brown, old. Like, a lot of them are old. So it's really, really hard. Charles Woodson, old. So in all honesty, it's just that for defensive side of the ball, I really think that this defensive side of the ball, this is going to help a lot of the younger teams out that have young defenses. But other than that, I really don't see any too huge underrated guys. But Bradshaw and Kruger and Matt Moore are three that pop into my head as underrated guys.
Yeah, you caught it. By the way, update, Anthony Spencer gets a franchise tag in Dallas. But, yeah, there's not really many impact defensive guys in this free agency. So if you're really looking for that, you're probably not going to find that unless, like you said, they're pretty much old. There's not going to be much there. I mean, the defensive side of the ball is not going to be, maybe Ed Reed, but we already know, like we said, maybe Brent Grimes. But, he suffered an Achilles tendon, and that really held him out for all of the years. So do you trust that? Do you trust in him? And Sean Smith at cornerback is, that's pretty interesting right there. I'd probably take a look at him. But, this free agency isn't looking that great to me. That's why, if a team goes out and spends a lot, it'd be different than it was last year. Last year, the free agency was pretty stacked. This year, it's not as much. But you can get a guy here or there, come in as a little underrated, bring them in. I bet Steven Jackson, if he goes to Atlanta, then Atlanta, I may have to pick them with the NFC because he could be that running back that Atlanta will need. Finally, that versatile running back that not only can run in between the tackles, but can run outside the tackles, use that speed to get out there, something that Atlanta really does need. They don't really have it with your Quiz Rogers. What were you saying? Another
running back that's also available that I totally forgot to talk about, Reggie Bush, another guy, San Diego and Detroit are both looking at Bush, obviously because Detroit doesn't really have an every down type of receiving back that they would like for, their star quarterback. And same with San Diego. They're looking for that type of guy that is a great receiving back. Ryan Matthews hasn't panned out for them well, and Phillip Rivers, is he declining? Is he not? You've seen such success when you had LT and Darren Sproles back there. And Reggie Bush, kind of ran like, the same system like New Orleans did. So, Matthew Stafford and Phillip Rivers would welcome a Reggie Bush coming to their teams because he can bring a lot to both of those teams, especially for the Lions and Chargers, who are going to probably have weaker schedules since they didn't finish too well in their season last year. So, in all honesty, Reggie Bush is another guy that I feel could make an impact when coming to a team, and he's also a dangerous kick returner.
Yep, all right. Well, that ends the podcast for this week. Make sure to comment down below your thoughts. Make sure to check out our Facebook, facebook.com/beforethekickoff. Make sure to follow us on Twitter, twitter.com/beforekickoff. Oh, and make sure to check out the website, beforethekickoff.com. And finally, make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. New podcasts come out every Wednesday. So make sure to check that out. For all of us here at Before the Kickoff, we'll see y'all later. We'll have a new guest next week. So keep watching. We're going to have hopefully, a new guest every week. Keep changing things up. We know you're getting tired of hearing our voices. So until next time, we'll see y'all later. Peace.